What's happening, Trips? Welcome to the second episode of A Little House in the Prairies podcast. Today, we're going to be joined by Immigrant Muscle out of Toronto. How's it going, guys?
Very well. How you doing, Charles?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Not too bad. How's the weather out there? Starting to heat up a wee bit?
Oh, it's delightful. This one, Alex went to play soccer today.
Yeah,
I couldn't get out, unfortunately, but it's starting to get there.
Yeah, it's been great. Honestly, I think it's here to stay for once. Usually around this time, we're like, just still crying because it's hovering around 0 degrees, and it's it's a blessing, but also like, a little scary. You're like, oh, are we heading towards doom right now?
There's also like the fall spring, so it comes, it like lingers for a bit, and then it goes back to like -10, and you're like, oh, come on, you can't.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's gonna stay.
No, but it usually does that.
For sure, yeah. You've got like windy season, you've got like muddy season. I feel like spring, like leading up to spring, there's like 4 or 5 different seasons.
Yeah, and then it's summer for 4 weeks, and then it's fall for 2 weeks, and then it's winter again. It's really good.
Yeah, we're kind of still stuck in that winter spring stage right now where you don't know what.
Yeah, how is it in Regina?
I mean, the snow is melting, but there's talk that we're getting more in the next few weeks. So fingers crossed that doesn't happen, because it's an absolute nightmare when it comes back, and I can't be dealing with snow any longer.
Yeah, it's real there as well. Like they don't mess around. The winters there are like long and cold and windy. The prairies are no joke.
Yeah, no, definitely not. There's nothing worse than -50 and freezing your balls off. It's the best thing in the world. So I just wanted to speak to you guys a wee bit. We'll just open with how you guys get involved in dance music, how you get involved with each other, how you met and things like that. Just because I know you guys, I had a look at your resident advisor bio and things like that, and reading that is a madness. Like, I was killing myself laughing when I was reading it. What is that all about?
What do you want me to tell you what the bio's about?
A little bit of everything.
So when we wrote the bio, we had our friend write it for us, who's kind of teetering on insanity. But we had him write it for us. And I think the idea behind our bio was that a lot of other people's bios are just like very serious. And, it's like stating your accomplishments, who you've collaborated with. And there's just like this, I don't know. I hate talking about myself in the third person and like talking about my qualities, and so I always just look to make some sort of joke about it, because I feel like we don't take ourselves that seriously. I think we like to laugh a lot. We like to make jokes, and we have a very absurd crew that we hang out with, right, on the regular, and they bring the absurdity out in us, and I think that's where kind of that bio stems from, for sure.
Yeah, but you're quite right, and it reflects it in the kind of music you play. Everything's really fun and kind of creative and everything else. There, like I've listened to a lot of your stuff, and I was really impressed by it. Like, you don't seem to want to fit to one kind of form, and we're just going to be this or be that, the same way as a lot of people do. It's more like, hey, we're just having fun with it. We're kind of going to see where things go, and we're going to take it for there. So, I mean, it fits you as well. But yeah, when I first read it, I was killing myself laughing. I had tears in my eyes reading it. I was like, this is brilliant.
Yeah, it was something that was super funny, because he came up with the nickname Moon Mist, like on his own. How'd you get that idea? Was it from
we went to Detroit, and
there was the flavor of Faygo.
The Faygo flavor, and I was like, this is a pretty sick thing.
This is a pretty sick name. Yeah,
it's like bootleg Mountain Dew, but it and it probably kills you in like 30 years, but
it's just like American soda, or pop as they call it there, or like soda as they call it in like in Canada, I guess. Me, I just have a fucking insatiable love for club soda, so much so that one time at a party I drank 14 cans, and I was just loving it.
It is deeper than that, right? It's like when we throw a party, he's like, okay, we need 15 cases of club soda, and it's like we end up always having like 10 cases extra. I'm like, okay, we're always thinking like, okay, either he's just like how does he keep fucking up all the time and ordering more club soda? And then I'm like, he's doing it so he can take it home.
So I can take it home after.
Right, just writing it off as an expense. And getting a fucking 6 months worth of club soda. Well, no, for you that's like 2 weeks.
2 weeks exactly.
Maybe, yeah.
So that's the whole joke about it, is that I'm not quick to jump on any of the other things that are left over when the party is done, but definitely the club soda is coming home with me.
Club soda's the one.
Yeah. Club soda is the one. So yeah, that's the story of that bio. When it comes to like how we got started, I mean, like, I don't know, obviously we were listening to electronic music. I mean, I started listening to electronic music probably in like high school, something like that.
Same, yeah.
It was probably right around when like deadmau5 was breaking out here in Canada, before he kind of like really made it to the big times, but he was kind of pioneering a very interesting type of sound at the beginning, something that was a little bit different, especially when like you had like a lot of minimal stuff that was kind of that was like in vogue at that point in time. And yeah, kind of went from there. I feel like, I don't know, for me, I just got really curious about how people are looking for music, how they're presenting music. And so obviously like that curiosity eventually like made its way into DJing. For yourself?
I mean, about the same in like high school. I mean, two notable albums that I can name off right now are like State of Trance, Armin van Buuren. Yeah. What was it? In Search of Sunrise. Tiesto.
Six.
Yeah,
Five,
like all of them.
Yeah,
you know?
all of them. Yeah.
And then before that, I mean, it was, you know, like a buddy from middle school or something. One of his cousins was super into Euro, what they called Euro here, which is not what we probably call Euro now. And it was just on the radio, and they like, you know, they had like club nights and stuff. And for me, it was like, I don't know, it was just like something new, because I was predominantly listening to hip hop back then. So yeah, it was new, it was interesting. It was
also a bit of an alternative scene, like really,
yeah.
Like, because when you think about it, most people, like when we were growing up, they were either listening to like hip hop or rock. Like it was kind of fringe, especially at the beginning, for you to be listening to like electronic music. Like now it's like
for sure
it's very much like taking over the globe, etc., and it's become very popularized and all of that. But like at the beginning, it was kind of a very weird thing here in North America. It was something that was like, oh, people in Europe are doing that, but they're not doing it here. It's like Nutella, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like at first, people don't really get it here. They're like, what? It's made of hazelnuts? But everyone in Europe loves it. I don't know.
That's kind of still the way it is here in Regina. Like you were saying, it seems to have blown up everywhere else, and it's a big thing. But again, here, most people are still listening to either rock or country or hip hop. And if they do listen to any sort of electronic music, it's EDM. So like, there's two sides of the scale. There's a whole area that's been missed here, and I don't understand why, because to me, some of the best music lies in that grey area that's right in between when you've got a lot of your kind of house stuff, trance stuff, like techno, things like that, and it just doesn't seem to have caught on here yet. So hopefully with us doing this series a wee bit, it'll start to pick up and we can bring some sort of scene and a little bit of culture here in Regina and get some shows going and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like, especially when it comes to taking people who are like from a very different type of background, if you can kind of draw the map for them and show them like how like there's that kind of like evolution, what are the grandfathers of like house music and techno, you know, like where these sounds, like where these concepts originating from, how do they tie in? Don't forget, like in a lot of the clubs and the places that we institutionalize, like places in Ibiza, places in New York, they were playing like what can be the equivalent of like rock and roll, and people were dancing to it. They would play Rolling Stones records, you know? So it's really, while the worlds seem very, very far apart, they're really a lot closer together. So I feel like once people kind of like can wrap their heads around that, it like doesn't make it seem so kind of like foreign and alien, right?
Yeah, and you're even seeing it now. Like there was almost a big gap there where there was when like electronic music really kind of broke out in the mainstream to a certain degree, where there was two sides. It was either like your really heavily like rock and roll whatever it was going to be, and then electronic music was a whole separate thing. But even now, recently, I was watching a few weeks ago, Scream played a set, and he's playing like the Arctic Monkeys and things like that in there, and people are sitting there going, how does this work? But it's just, it works because it's not that far off. And listen, half the battle is getting people dancing, right? That's the whole goal, is to get people on the dance floor enjoying the music and moving their feet. And if you can do that, you're winning.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at like, you essentially, whenever you're trying to DJ, you're trying to like tell a story, right? Like, unless there's a certain type of an environment that like dictates that you should be playing a certain type of sound. Otherwise, like, you have to like read the crowd and see like what they're going to react to. Somebody who's really good with something like that is, and plays like, has like a vastly eclectic style. Somebody like Moody Man, you know, like he'll play the Beatles in his set. He's done all kinds of crazy things, you know, and it's literally, you think like, whoa, is this guy like rewriting the rules? You know, you don't think that like this is possible or this is the way that things should be done, but he's doing it, right? So why shouldn't anybody else?
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's not just down to all these big artists to do this. And I mean, I feel like you guys, like I was saying at the beginning, you guys take that upon yourselves to a certain degree, where you don't feel conformed and you just play whatever it is you feel in the moment, and you get creative with it. And that's the beauty of the sets that you guys play, is you like to do this sort of creative stuff, and you like to bring out the different aspects that people maybe didn't think of. And that's kind of what sets you apart from a lot of other people that I've listened to in the last few years, and essentially over the time that I've been interested in electronic music. And I just wanted to speak to you as well a little bit here. Out in Toronto, that seems to be the case, where you're seeing a lot more people starting to break into the mainstream and things, and they are very creative people. And I don't know, even you guys will probably know more being involved in the scene, but if that comes down to like the different cultures that are within the city, because it seems to be, whenever I go out there, that there's so many different people coming from different areas of the world, that it is one big mixing pot where everybody's bringing something to the table, and the creativity kind of like flows over and mixes together to a certain degree.
I mean, yeah, for sure. Like any metropolitan city. I mean, Toronto is one of the most multicultural places in the world, right? And you know, look at, I mean, you look at New York, right? It's another good example of all the different cultures that are present, and how those cultures, you know, when they start to mix, they have new products. You know, different sounds emerge, different types of scenes emerge. So you get all these like micro communities starting to come out. So I mean, yeah, I think that's definitely a part of, you know, what a metropolitan city you know, can bring. And you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, Toronto's just a very very happening place in that regard.
Yeah, in Canada especially. I mean, you guys seem to be taking off more than anything. You're seeing a lot of people coming out of there, like most recently, Demure, who's been on some big labels in recent times, is putting out some good stuff. And I mean, we saw even the Grammys the other week as well. There was Kate Renata and
Kate Tronado won a Grammy. That was huge.
Jada G was also nominated, and I know she's from BC, but again, Canadian, and it seems to really be taking off for a lot of Canadian artists. And with that, there seems to be more shows, more
Bad Not Good also won a Grammy as well. Yeah. So and those guys are Toronto cats,
and you don't just have, you know, electronic music artists emerging. You have
it's
hip hop artists. You have you know, country artists. I don't know any, but
yeah, there's honestly like I don't know. I just feel like there's so many like really special talented artists like all across the country, especially in Toronto. I'm kind of like, I feel like we're obviously following a little bit more what's going on in Toronto, maybe Montreal, even in Vancouver a little bit. But I don't think that's to say that we shouldn't be, you know, paying closer attention to places like, I don't know, Edmonton, Calgary, Regina. You know, it's becoming easier and easier for anybody to kind of just like mess around with a production program and, you know, try to like express themselves creatively like that. So who knows? Who knows what the future is going to hold, especially if you have people, for instance, like the way that we were influenced by listening to State of Trance or like Dead Mouse compared to like listening to K Tronada as that kind of like gateway into this type of into this type of a scene, right? So it's very interesting to see like where this will all go to.
Yeah, and again with that, it's them putting a spotlight on the scene that's developing there as well, and you're seeing a lot of more mainstream, I guess like bigger name acts coming over from Europe, coming up from the States, things like that. And you guys seem to get the best of the bunch out there, and a lot of the time they're doing like Toronto and Montreal, and then they kind of skip over the Prairies and maybe do Vancouver or so. And I know you guys had the opportunity to play for Boiler Room. What was that like? How did that come about?
Oh, well, the Boiler Room, that kind of came about. It came about a few, I want to say like maybe a year and a bit before that, when we played that Halloween party with Untitled. Yeah. So we were playing that party.
That was like an audition for us, basically, unplanned audition where one of our friends finally put enough faith in us to give us an opening slot for a big name like Antal, right, on a big night on Halloween, and we ended up crushing that. That's probably one of the, if not the best set we ever played together.
It definitely felt like it, and the right people were listening, and they took a liking to us. And a few months later, we were opening for Kerry Chandler in the same place, the same space, rather. Which was a disaster. I mean, it wasn't. It was
logistically a disaster.
Logistically, it was a disaster, but like, and it was still like an incredible experience. Like meeting someone like Kerry Chandler and talking to them was pretty phenomenal. And that kind of just like we went from there. They booked us a few more times as well, and then the Boiler Room came around. They asked us to play. We were obviously over the moon about it. It was honestly the weirdest thing. We didn't even know. Like,
it was surreal. It was surreal.
Definitely,
for sure. We're gonna tell you a story. That kind of puts in perspective, like kind of how surreal it is. It really is. So, one of the other people that was on that bill, Emissive, is one of our good friends.
Yeah, his name's Evan, and he goes by Emissive, but he also is a part of Active Surplus. And he just released a solo and a solo EP and an EP as Active Surplus on Pacific Rhythm. So big ups to him. And so he was also on the Boiler Room bill with us.
Yeah.
But it's funny how we met him. So the way we met him was,
we were going to Detroit for the first time for Movement, and Floor Plan was playing in the basement at the time, and so we obviously went, and we were really looking forward to his set, and so the other thing with that was our friend that came with us, the same guy that wrote our bio, when we picked him up, he basically showed us that he packed 4 Bibles,
one for each of us
for Floor Plan,
so that we could have it in our hand and throw it up as he's playing.
Because Floor Plan was doing the gospel thing, right? And we're like, we're going to church, so we need Bibles. And then later we find out that this guy didn't even pack a single pair of underwear. He wasn't even wearing underwear. So he packed 4 Bibles and no underwear for the whole trip. He wore shorts, 1 pair of shorts the whole time. And anyways, we're going to Floor Plan, and we got these Bibles, and we're all throwing them on the hair, and like one of our friends is shirtless, and Evan, he like looks over, and he was with his partner at the time, and he's like, I bet those guys are from Toronto. And she's like, no, they're not. And he goes in and he comes up to us and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? Are you guys from Toronto? We're like, yeah. And that's how we became friends. And so that all came full circle. We both got booked to play Floor Plan Boiler Room, and we realized that like probably the night of Boiler Room, we're like, holy shit, man, that's like the night we met, and now we're both in here on this like grand stage.
I think you realized that night. I was like fucking trembling
Yeah,
from nerves. I had to employ like all kinds. Not like it wasn't that bad, but I mean like it was definitely probably one of the more nervous I've ever been.
For sure.
And yeah, it was definitely
because that shit's forever, man, right? That's gonna be on the
internet. Yeah, exactly. It's like this. It's gonna be there forever, right?
The stakes are high, right?
Yeah, the stakes are high, and it was yeah, it was one of those things. Like it was almost too much that you weren't able to enjoy it. But then as soon as like you figured out like what you were doing, you're just like, oh, okay, great. This is just like all the other times, kind of, right?
Yeah, crazy thing to be playing in like almost where the moment gets the better of you until you're up there and you start getting the feel for it, and you're like, oh, I've done this before. Like we know where we are. This is nothing new. But
it's just like a footballer finding their feet. You know, you're just gonna do the same thing.
Yeah, you play with a new team and you're maybe unsure until you got a few touches in, and then there you go. You're next thing you're pinging 30-yard passes and no problem.
Rabona into the fucking left corner.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
That one didn't last very long though, did it?
No. Thank God we're both Arsenal fans, so we're very happy to see that go the other way.
Yeah, and then obviously, I mean, playing on that big stage was a massive achievement for you, and that kind of led on to some other things. I mean, my timeline's maybe a little bit off, but then I believe you guys ended up opening, or you played on the same set list as Dennis Sauter as well. I just wanted to touch on that with you.
Yeah. That was a little bit before. I think that was in April. That was in the April that was before that.
Are you sure?
Yeah. It was Sandra's birthday, right?
Right, that was in May then. It
was in May. It was late April, early May, yeah.
No, it wasn't, dude.
It was.
Couldn't have been. Oh, you're right, it was. You're right.
Yeah,
so that was like shortly after.
Go ahead, sorry.
Sorry, yeah.
No, we're just working out the timeline. It
was shortly after like Untitled, right? And Carrie Chandler, that's right. And then we did also a couple other parties in that time frame.
Yeah, no, that one's crazy for me because I mean, I was always kind of into electronic music, and again, stemming from like Deadmau5 and things when he blew up, and to a certain degree when I was younger, like Skrillex and things like that, when they kind of like all of that. Calvin Harris is a massive one for me as well. He seems to have always been about, obviously from Scotland. He was one you always heard on the radio. But my first proper night out in a proper club that played dance music was Dennis Sauter was playing in Sub Club in Glasgow. And that was like, It was game over. After that, it was game over. That guy is so good at what he does. And he always plays the song that you don't expect, that you didn't know that you needed, but until he plays it, you're like, that's the one. And he just seems, since then, he just seems to have taken off and blown up. And like everywhere he goes, people just follow him religiously. And
And credit to him, because he was going through a bit of a rough patch as well, right? He was struggling. I can't remember exactly what was it, like mental, or maybe it was just like the toll that the job of DJing was taking on his
mental health.
So,
I think that was half the problem for him as well, right? Because like he's just a normal guy from Glasgow that just loves making music, and he was absolutely killing it. And then he started blowing up, and he didn't really know how to deal with it. He just wanted to keep playing with his mates and having fun, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. He's one of those guys where he's all about having fun. And I think it was just something that was maybe hard for him to get used to, but he seems to have taken a little bit of time off and found his feet, and kind of picking and choosing the things that he's working on now, and he seems to be enjoying it again. So that's the main thing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that, like having some kind of an experience that like kind of shifts your perspective is super, super important. I feel like the whole world has had one of those with this pandemic right now. And I mean, obviously things are going to be a little bit different afterwards. You can't really help that. But I hope we take our don't take ourselves too seriously in the future.
Never.
We'll take some things seriously, just not ourselves.
No, no, absolutely
Right,
not.
right. That's the way to go about it. I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like when you started DJing, when you started getting involved in music, it wasn't like this is going to be my job. It's like I just want to have fun with it, and I just want to enjoy this, and having that be your job, it would be a luxury, and obviously,
It would be an ultimate privilege, if anything.
Yeah.
exactly. And but at the end of the day, you still got to enjoy it. There's no point in doing something. It's like any job, right? If you don't like your job, what is the point in doing it? You're just wasting time and draining yourself.
Yeah, that was the funny joke. I don't know if you saw, there were some memes that surfaced at the beginning of the pandemic. It kind of aligned all of the DJs throughout the world. You know, like it doesn't matter if you're playing festivals, doesn't matter if you're Carl Cox. We're all bedroom DJs right now. You know what I mean? We're all playing in our bedrooms or in our houses, and that's it. You're not playing at a club. You got no gigs. You got nothing. You know, but that's like where it starts for everybody, right? So.
Yeah, and it's quite a crazy thing as well that you're seeing all of these DJs playing in their homes and I don't know if you saw at the start of the pandemic. I mean, it's not always been smooth sailing. I don't know if you saw at the start of the pandemic. Nina Kravitz played she was trying to play like a live stream. I think it was for Beatport or something like that, and she had to shut it down after 20 minutes because her neighbors kept coming down and like knocking on her door and screaming at her. Kept downright turning their music off. It is so funny. Like 2 or 3 times in the set you can see her, because I don't know obviously where she had her equipment set up and things like that. You could see her running over and opening the door and being like, yeah, we'll turn it off, and then just cranking it back.
Yeah, you know what that's a testament to? It's a testament to the fact that her fee is so high that she can live in the posh neighborhood where people get really upset by her doing that. So that's a testament to that for sure.
Yeah, and it's something that's really, well, what I found, I was also speaking about this as well last week on the podcast. It's brought everyone in the electronic music scene more into the light in a sense too, by playing at home, because you're not seeing like people who are in rock bands or country singers or things like that. You're not seeing as many of these people doing live streams and still getting themselves out there, getting their product out here. It seems to be a lot of DJs, producers, different artists who are putting on these live streams and doing well to a certain degree. So
yeah, it's definitely opened up a new market. I would say there's a lot of people that are starting things up. A friend of ours as well, doing streaming weekly shows through Twitch, racking up the subscribers and making some coin from that. But yeah, definitely it's giving people also, their a voice, to show what they've got. Some of it's good, some of it's not so good, but it's kind of like what music is these days. A lot of people are producing stuff, putting it out there, and it's just there's a high volume of stuff that's regurgitated, and then you gotta scroll through, and then eventually you get to some sort of gem. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see that happen now. And I'm wondering what's the future gonna be like. Are people gonna, when things kind of get back to normal, is this still gonna be a thing? Are people still gonna be live streaming on a daily or weekly basis, or are they going to be getting out there and going to dance parties and trying to get gigs?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it translates as well, right? Because like these guys who are doing well and they're DJing at home and they're doing live streams and stuff, I mean, that's one thing, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're playing in a club or a venue and there's lots of people there watching you and the pressure's on and you've got to perform. That's a whole other thing. And I mean, probably some people will probably rise to the occasion and enjoy that, and that'll be nothing for them, and good on them, because it's maybe someone that wouldn't have been discovered if it wasn't for this whole thing. But at the same time, there's going to be a lot of people who are found out who maybe kind of hiding behind the lens in a sense, where they can afford to do or like they don't have the pressure and they can afford to make little mistakes and use little silly tools and things like that to get away with a few things that you just can't live, right?
Yeah. And then of course, there's a whole aspect of getting to your gig and, something goes wrong, right? There's like faulty equipment or you forget something that you really need, right? And you're not at home, so you can't just make it appear or go get it. So yeah, I mean, that's definitely, and yeah, I mean, tons of things go wrong at gigs, tons of unanticipated things, and then maybe the speakers aren't set up properly, and you're not hearing, um, you're not be able to cue the track that's coming in properly because you can't hear properly, and then yeah, you might have to adapt in that situation, start like cueing in your headphones. And
that's definitely something that's like,
yeah,
you figure out when you're playing in different places,
exactly,
like the
yeah.
comfort of like where you play in your house
As
and like
well,
the way
yeah.
like the acoustics are and the way everything sounds. It's like you kind of like you build like a comfort of like doing that repeatedly over and over again. But sometimes you go to a club and like there's like feedback, or I don't know, the way the sound's bouncing off the walls.
Yeah,
it's
you're
like,
not getting a clean sound coming back to your ear,
or it's just
when you're
maybe
trying
something
to
that you're
mix.
not used to, so that's
Yeah.
something that's like you have to kind of feel that out, and that takes getting used to, and for us, like the majority of the events that we're doing in DIY settings, it's like those are like, it's not like even like you're in a club and you have like a sound guy or a tech or something all the time to help you out. It's like, you
Yeah.
really got to figure those things out on your own.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that that's gonna be fun to deal with when we get back to it. It's part of the agony before the ecstasy.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that again is really impressive with you guys, seeing even from your boiler room set and stuff. And I mean, I've followed you guys on Instagram and things for a little while now, and I know you play a lot of vinyl, and that's again another added thing where a lot of people are jumping on the CDJs and hitting sync buttons and all this other stuff, and everything's done for them. Whereas you guys tend to do it the right way, the old school way, and that's again something else that you've got to deal with, right? With equipment and things going wrong and everything else. It's a whole other art and a whole other skill that only the people that are purists really appreciate and really understand what it takes to do that. Because a lot of these people, big name DJs playing big stages and things, they're playing on these media players, and they're doing all these crazy tricks and this and that, but it's a hard enough thing to just be able to play vinyl and keep both of those records and like playing at the same time, mixing between the two. That's a job in itself, never mind doing all these crazy tricks. That's just extra on top when everything's done for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, the CDJs are pretty cool. They're like instruments in themselves, right? You can, like you said, there's lots of tricks you can do with them, and a lot of people are very, very skilled at like using them in a way to make their sets more random, more creative, and I find that aspect of using CDJs very cool. So no discredit to them, but of course I feel like, as a DJ, as anybody that's aspiring to be a DJ, that it's super important to learn how to mix vinyl, right? And it's even if you don't plan on using vinyl in the future, it's just like, it's something that will teach you how to for lack of better words, become like, get closer to the music, and learn how to beat match properly, and develop a feel for how how you can manipulate the music in that sense.
Yeah, and also like at the end of the day, no matter what style you come from, no matter what type of music you play from, like, or you're playing rather, it all boils down to what you're playing, right? And an important part of the reason why we were so drawn to playing vinyl was the fact that you have like a far bigger kind of like pool of music to draw from. Like, and we became super enamored with like going to record shops, going and digging, finding all kinds of different music stuff that like is not available digitally.
Let me stop you for a second. Let's not forget that buying a set of decks is like half the price, and by decks I mean techs,
Yeah,
turntables. It's
it's like a fourth of
it's
the
a
price,
fourth of
or
the
like
price,
a
yeah,
third,
yeah,
for sure.
and versus CDJs, right, which are like extortionate.
Yeah, it's a crazy amount of money.
And you know, it's just like, oh, here, I'm gonna get these turntables for a quarter of the price, right? And then when I'm gonna buy vinyl, but I can buy that as we go, right? It's not like a lump sum you have to pay right away so that you can start doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that was kind of an easy decision to make, right?
Yeah.
To get started, right? Because you're like, oh, here, I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be super hard, but
yeah,
you know, I'm gonna learn it the right way, probably. And
and you know, like after you start with that, like you build like a library, you go and you find all these records, and that's like a hallmark to you as a DJ, and like that's something that's like unique to you, right? So like people can be all DJs can download the same playlists and top 10s and the top 100s from Beatport and stuff like that, but that's not going to set you aside from anybody else. And like, and if you look back, like in the day, I've heard all kinds of folklore, and you have too, from some of the older cats here in Toronto, telling stories about how DJs, if they heard a record that they liked at the record shop, they would buy all the copies that were there to make sure that nobody else could play it. If they played it, they would either take a marker and mark out the label in the middle, or they would just rip the label right off, so you wouldn't even know what that song was. And you know how you knew you would hear that song again? If you went and you saw that DJ again.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like an ode to that as well. So I mean, you can't like, it's not like we're gonna, you know, abandon iPhones and go back to rotary phones, you know, and just like abandon all these like developments in technology, but it's important to hold on to some of the things, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, that is a lot of the thing that you're seeing right now as well, is a lot of DJs who I guess are getting into it, who are coming up, they just want to skip over that part, and they just want to download the top 100 on Beatport and play the same songs as everyone else, the same songs that we're hearing everywhere, hearing on the radio, this and that. But they're missing out on the fun as well, because I mean, myself, obviously, from a monetary standpoint, when I first started kind of learning how to DJ, and again, I'm not very good by any means. I'm still learning as I go right now. But like the easiest thing was a controller, so to a certain degree was that. But even still, like I've made sure that I'm buying vinyl, and I'm starting to invest in a setup where I can play vinyl, and I really want to learn how to play on that, because I think it is a fundamental thing where the basics are what are driving these technological advances. So to be able to do that at the core and strip everything back, that is more valuable than learning how to do anything on digital here. And what I've found as well is like actually going to the stores, digging through the vinyls, listening to the records. That's the most fun part of being a DJ.
Oh man,
yeah. There's a physicality to it, right? It's like there's a physicality when you play with them. There's a physicality when you're digging for records. You know, when you buy that record, you're holding it in your hand. You know, that's like, you know, you don't get to really do that with digital music.
Or think about artwork. Like how many times have you ever, you know, you ever had the artwork or something that just like kind of jumps at you, and you don't even know why you're drawn to it. You don't even know what it could sound like. And frankly, the two things don't even have to be related. Sometimes you pick up a record that has a cool label and it sounds like absolute trash, right? But it's something that's like, there's still these like small nuances that are drawing you, right? And you don't get that with like scrolling through. I mean, I don't really think so. Scrolling through Beatport, I don't know.
No, and then there's also like, you know, another example is like hardware production equipment versus doing everything in the box, you know, like digitally. I mean, you know, again, it's, you know, you're borderline getting the same quality. A lot of people argue obviously that analog is deeper. It has more depth than digital, but you know, the digital these days is extremely high quality as well. So yeah, I don't know. I think like having hardware versus software is something, you know, it's the same type of
Yeah.
relationship or
And
comparison.
I mean, the software does make everything available, right? Because it allows people who maybe don't have the funds to invest in some of the more high-end hardware to still get at it and develop their skills and kind of learn the tricks of the trade and everything else. But at a certain degree, it's like nothing beats the old school and being able to put your hands on something and actually feel it out and play on it, right?
I mean, sorry to interrupt you, the way that I started DJing actually was through Tractor, right? My friend went to like Mykonos one summer and came back with a bunch of mixed CDs by like Carl Cox and like Hernan Cataneo and I don't even know who else, Sasha Digweed, the big like UK DJs, and he went to Mykonos and they were having like crazy parties there, and he's like, yo, I heard about this program called Tractor. He's like, yeah, it allows you to DJ on your laptop, and I'm like, well, that's amazing, because I would love to learn how to do that.
And I have a laptop.
and I have a laptop, right? And so I just pirated it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, I'm not actually gonna buy this. I don't have money for that, but I'll pirate it, you know. But before that, I had some like, oh my God, I had some like bootleg DJ program that came with like a controller, but it only had like in sounds installed into it that you could use, and they were really bad. Like you could not load up your own sounds or anything. It was stupid. I don't know. I think my mom bought it for me. That was like probably like 15, 16. Holy shit.
Not a bad present though.
Yeah.
Like the intent was great.
Yeah. Oh wow. I should remind her about that.
Look where it's got you now. It got
she's like, yeah, you screwing around with your music all the time.
It's all your fault. Didn't you know you started this?
I should remind her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know that like even like you were saying, when the things like that came out, I mean, it's a cool thing to have. It gives a lot of people opportunity, but then when you do eventually start developing the skills and you start getting really good, there is a need for more. I mean, it becomes repetitive to a certain degree, right? Whereas you become limited. Like there's only so much you can do before you start moving on to like these old school things, like your old school synths and things like that. And that's one thing that really amazes me as well, is like you're seeing a lot of people now coming out and playing live sets and things like that. Like one of my favorite people to watch right now is Fiac. Those guys are just ridiculous, and how they are able to remember what the hell they're doing when they're that high, I will never know. High to the bone, and they still are in full control. And you're like,
so much hardware. It's great. They were actually supposed to come to Toronto. I want to say like sometime last summer. I think they were supposed to play a Boiler Room here, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think that was in the rumor mill, but you know, there's just lots of speculation on that front. Worse than football.
Yeah. Hopefully that gets rescheduled and they get back out here, because
they'll definitely be here. Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to speak to you guys about, just cover, was kind of again, we're talking about the dance music scene in Canada, the electronic scene in Canada. Obviously in Toronto it's a little bit different to out here. I know you guys throw your own parties, and you had your own kind of party series. How did you find throwing that here? Like, I know you see a lot of places, like you were saying, Mykonos, Ibiza, New York, things like that. You're seeing a lot of government funding. You're seeing people being allowed the freedom to do what it is they want to do. But in Canada, it seems like even since the early 2000s, when things started getting cleaned up, it's just kind of been a dampener being put on it to a certain degree, where it's like you guys are just like, I don't know, the government just don't seem to, I don't know if it's the government, but the government just don't seem to agree with it, and people seem to try and restrict it to a certain degree.
For sure. I mean, in the 90s, you saw the rave scene kind of crash. Well, not kind of, it did crash. The rave scene was massive in Toronto back then. And, you know, a couple overdoses happened, and it all just came, you know, the government just tightened up restrictions, you know, made them illegal. And yeah, the scene kind of lost momentum. once that happened. And you know, since then, it's just been this like eternal struggle of uh just like stagnant growth, right? It's the growth of the scene has stagnated, and I don't know why that is exactly. You know, we have our party series, and that kind of came to life because we just wanted to, you know, have create some sort of fun event for people to come to. Actually, our main goal in throwing our party series is just to spread the gospel, right? And to get more people interested in dance music here, right? So it's very similar to what you're trying to accomplish in Regina. And I think, you know, in the last 2 years that we've done a pretty decent job in getting more people into this music and into the culture. And you know, because the potential is here, right? We know there's a lot of people living in the city, right? There's a lot of people that aren't in the know, and it just takes, you know, like one invite, or you know, my friend's going here, let's go check it out. And then, you know, you get people asking about your parties, you know, the next time, you know, when's the next party you're throwing. And then, you know, it's very organic in that sense. It's been pretty steady in terms of growth, which is good. um but yeah, I don't, you know, we'll see if that continues, you know, like especially now we've kind of lost momentum, you know, with a lot of stuff, you know, DJing obviously like completely gone, parties also. But and then, you don't know what things are going to look like, you know, once we get out of this. You don't know if people are going to have money to go out or if they're going to be comfortable enough to share, you know, to be in close proximity to other people that they don't know, right? So I think it's gonna take a while, and you know, definitely a lot of unknowns.
I think it's going to be chaos. I think hoping that people are going to be pouring to these events.
That
And
is
That's
that is
true.
that
I
is the
feel like
other
people are definitely hurting for a party.
for
The
sure.
question is like, what's the long term gonna look like? You know, like I feel like, yeah, for sure there's gonna be like a big boom right away, but then how's it gonna be afterwards? It's honestly, it was really funny because right before the pandemic hit, we were kind of in the throes of like planning a whole bunch of stuff. And then obviously the pandemic came to a wrench in that. So you know that saying, like, you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans.
yeah,
I feel like it's pretty poignant with this type of stuff. It's like when things open up, it's like we're gonna take it with the way the way things come. You know, it's like we can't really have like a roadmap for what it's gonna be like because we don't know what it's gonna be like.
and is that something that you're planning on doing then when everything does open back up? Is looking at kind of how things go and potentially moving forward and putting on more parties? Because I mean, that must have been pretty disheartening when you've had things in the works and you are organising and putting in that time and effort to make things happen, and then everything
Well,
gets shut down.
I mean, yes, but also at the same time, it's like you have to look at like what's going on in the world. It's like the fact that we can't throw a party is not the be all end all. You know, there's people
yeah,
who are
but
losing their
also
livelihoods. There are people who are losing their lives. It's like we'll hopefully at some point be able to come back to that. You know, we'll be able
yeah.
to like throw events, and you know, everybody's got it tough right now. You know.
Personally, I was pretty damn happy to find out that this was happening. I'm like, oh yes, global crisis. I get to chill. I don't have to think about throwing the next party. I get to actually take a break, right? Because we've been going pretty
We had
hard
a pretty intense
for,
like 8 to 10 months
yeah.
before that of just like
It's
just
just
like party after party after
go go
party.
go. Yeah, we
Yeah.
did like 4 parties in a row,
Yeah, we did
leading
4 parties in
leading
this.
up to New Year's.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, we're gonna do our Valentine's Day party, and that's gonna be it until the summer. We're not doing anything else.
Little did we know it was not just that summer, it's also the next summer
Next
as well.
summer, yeah. And so that was the last party we threw, and I was like, you know what, I'm totally fine with just like not doing anything for 3 months. I thought like, okay, maybe we'll get to throw like one really small party in the summer, which we did. but it wasn't that good. It's not that it wasn't good. It's just that people weren't um as carefree as you would expect them to be
Yeah.
in a party setting, right? It was very
They were a
like
little bit on edge. You could tell,
standoffish,
yeah.
like, and so yeah, I mean that was, yeah, we did that, and then we also kind of did some
We did some streams and we recorded some mixes and stuff like that. But
we also
like,
did that like party in the park for one of our friends' birthday. It wasn't a party, it was more just like a get
and then the
together.
one with Joel.
Oh yeah, we also did that party, which was also a nightmare, but
I mean, it was. It's definitely. I mean, it's gonna take some getting used to. It's definitely gonna take some adjusting once like things kind of like start going back to the way they were. I don't know. I've been looking for a lot of music in the meantime still, and I feel like I don't know. I'd love to play it for other people. I love to play it for them on a dance floor. I'd love to have the opportunity to do that as opposed to just playing it on the airwaves and then not really knowing the type of reaction that it gets, which is, I mean, it's just like a different way of doing it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, again, it was a privilege to do it before. It would be lovely to do it again.
Yeah. I think for me, it's until I get some sort of like, I'm not thinking about it at all right now. I'm just like, okay, like, if I start to get a hint that things are kind of going back to normal, or we're going to have like an opportunity to do something here, then maybe those feelings and thoughts of like having a party, throwing a party somewhere are going to start to come back, and you're going to be like, oh shit, now I've got the itch. I got to fucking do this.
Yeah. I'm more of a masochist and like to go through the roller coasters of like, hey, maybe it's going to happen next one. No, it's not. Maybe it's going to, no, it's not, know?
And then when you get the itch, you're like, oh fuck, maybe we should open a club. Maybe we'll throw a bowl party, or maybe you know what I mean. You're just like you're just going through all these emotions, and you get back into it. I think it's just gonna happen very naturally. Not something that I'm trying to like force on myself right now.
Yeah, I've definitely been there.
Don't worry, we're not going out to pasture. We're gonna be around, I think, for the next little while, hopefully.
Good. Well, I'll definitely need to make my way out to Toronto when things open up. Then, as soon as you get something going on, let me know. Give me a shout, and I'll be out there. I'll be dancing.
Absolutely, man. Would love to meet you in person, and love to have you here, and love to have you over for a party for sure.
Yeah, sure. And hopefully we can go both ways as well, because like my whole goal with this was just something like right now. I went through all those emotions. When everything was open, I was like, I should start throwing parties. I should buy a club. I should do this. I should do. But then I just never had time to do it. And now that everything's kind of slowed down a little bit, I just felt like this was probably the right way to step into things and to kind of put a little bit of a spotlight on the scene that's happening in Canada and bring it to the Prairies, bring it to Regina, and let everyone know kind of what's happening. So eventually, when things do open back up, I'm going to be hoping to bring some people in. We can get you guys in the studio here. I've got the full studio set up, and we'll be able to talk to you guys in person, maybe even get you guys out here and throw some events or something out here, and I'll come out there, you guys can come here, and we'll make something happen,
Yeah, well, we've been meaning to make that cross Canada tour, or sorry, not tour, just the drive.
Just the drive, yeah, that'd be really, really awesome.
And see a whole lot of nothing on the way.
Well, it's a whole lot of beautiful, man. That's what you think, yeah, man.
Wow, everybody I've spoken to is like, this is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I don't know, but I went on a road trip up to like Thunder Bay once, which is like, what is that? That's like 2 days of driving.
Yeah,
it's like 20 hours or something from Toronto, and it's absolutely stunningly beautiful. They say like Northern Ontario has got nothing going on. It's absolutely breathtaking. And then obviously there's like, I mean, the Prairies, obviously it's pretty flat, it's farmland, right? But then afterwards, once you get into Alberta and you go through the mountains, it's very beautiful again. Right. NBC is beautiful as well. That's the jewel that is Canada. Every immigrant is drawn to this. Huh?
And not the one.
Not the one you smoke. Not that kind of jewel. It's a different jewel. But that's the ultimate immigrant story. Is that everybody who's visiting Canada, either as an immigrant or even just as a tourist, is like, You know what I've heard about Canada? It's very beautiful there. It's, you know, there's nature. It's everything. It's very beautiful, Canada.
Yeah, but I mean, that was even me when I moved here. It was like everybody was telling me, "Oh, it's beautiful out there," and I came here and I moved to Regina, and there's everything's flat, and I'm like, "Well, what is it that's beautiful? What is there to look at?" But then in the winter, I went out snowboarding out in the mountains and stuff like that, and the drive out there is just crazy. Once you hit those mountains, it's something else. It's really really cool.
Yeah, and it's cool, man. Because after that, you just go and you have the ocean on the other side. You have rainforest. It's pretty nuts. It'll be something that we definitely want to go see.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll definitely make it happen at some point down the line. If you guys do decide to do that, we'll get you here in Regina, and I'm sure we'll put on something that's fun for the people here. I mean, I maybe have to sort some more things out and get you guys to come out here. Maybe something to attract you out here. Maybe we'll get Arsenal playing out here or something like that.
Yeah, the exhibition match against the Rough Riders or something.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The Saskatchewan Rough Riders, the football team.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's both football at the end of the day.
It is football, man. They're both wearing cleats.
A little bit of confusion, but I think it'll work out.
Yeah, it'll work out.
The way Arsenal are playing this season, or the start of this season, they weren't much better than the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. To be fair,
Don't even mention it. I'm like,
it's funny. One of my best friends is an Arsenal fan, and he loves to run his mouth. So I take pride in it. But no, it's all fun and games at the end of the day. As long as Rangers are winning, that's all that matters.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're coming up on the hour here, so I'm just going to kind of wrap up a wee bit and ask you guys a couple of quick fire questions, if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Right, we'll get run through these. So the first thing I just wanted to ask you guys, you can both give me an answer here. Favorite track all time?
Oh man, that's the worst question ever.
That's the worst question.
That's why I'm asking it.
Give me another hour to answer that.
Yeah, man. I gotta dig.
First one that comes in your head, then.
First one that comes in my head. There's this one song that I think will forever remain entrenched in my head just because of like how I heard it as well and like the timing that it was. It's When You Touch Me by Tana Gardner. It's an old like disco song from like the late 70s. I want to say early 80s. It's on West End Records.
Sorry, man. Yeah,
it's on West End Records.
I remember what the name of this one was.
That's probably the one that it evokes a lot of crazy memories. It just makes you want to like dance in a few. It's the type of song that makes you want to go leave the decks and just go in front of the speakers and just dance. You know.
And Alex, you got an answer?
And I really don't know. There's this, what's it called? 2 Rounds or something.
Which one?
It's like a really old house tune. It's like super emotive. Oh man, if you give me a second, I can look for it. If not, I'm just gonna name something else for the heck of it.
Go for it. Have a quick look there. We'll come back to that one at the end if you want to have a look.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come back to it.
Yeah, let's come back to that one.
I feel like that was one that you put us on the spot for.
Man,
that's why I asked it. It's always you see the panic in people's faces.
The curveball, yeah.
Like I have such a bad memory when it comes to music. Like, you know, I could have loved a song maybe like a year or two ago. It's like you throw it at me, oh man, I'm not gonna remember. You're gonna try and sing the lyrics to me, and I'm gonna be like, oh okay, yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
But anytime you give me a name or an artist, I'm like spacing out hardcore.
Yeah, it's tough like that. You're just trying to retain like crazy amounts of information, and then sometimes things just get kind of lost in the process. But yeah, what else do you have in the line of the rapid fire questions?
The next one we got, if you could play any country in the world, what one would it be?
Ooh, any country.
Any country, I would say Georgia.
You'd want to play in Georgia, yeah, because you love Tbilisi.
Georgia. Yeah. Did you say Tulum scene?
Tbilisi.
I'm like, what the fuck?
See, he has no faith in me sometimes.
Never. No, but I think Georgia is up there for sure. They've got some crazy crazy shit happening there. But other than that,
You know what's funny is I'm in touch with some random like promoter slash DJ from Georgia. His name is I can't remember. It's like Levy or something like that. But he's booked like some crazy acts. I think he booked like Theo Parrish or something like that in Tbilisi. So it's actually not even that far fetched. Like there's a lot of cool stuff going on there.
I would love to play in London, maybe.
London would be cool just because like man, it's just like a mecca for that. There's just so much going on. But I think back to that party that you stumbled upon in Naples when we were there.
Right.
We were in Naples, and the first night we walked down to to the coastline, and I saw the hotel that was in the Sopranos, the Excelsior. So we were just hanging out there, and then we kind of split up. I remember you were with your partner, with Sandra at the time, and then I was with a couple of our buddies, and you called us and you're like, yo, we're at this party. And I'm like, what do you mean you're at this party? Which party are you at? They're like, yo, it's just like on the water here. And I'm like, how is it on the water, man? We were just there an hour ago. Like I didn't see anything.
We just heard some music and we're like, let's follow this. Let's see where it goes. And we just ended up on this pier.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of Italians just like going crazy. They're playing disco. I don't know where the fucking power was coming from because they were just like, there's no generator in sight. Like, where are these cables? I don't know.
Yeah, it was this weird kind of like pier. It was like a jutting out of like a man-made kind of like concrete island. It was maybe at its like widest, like maybe 12 meters wide. Yeah. So it was, imagine like you're having a party kind of like in a corridor, and then like people are sitting on the side kind of like smoking. There's some rocks there, and it was just like at night, the moon was out, nobody was giving a shit, everyone was dancing, the music was loud, nobody was complaining, and it was just like so serendipitous that we stumbled upon that, because it was exactly kind of like what we wanted. The universe just like gave it to us.
They were playing records,
and they were playing records too. It was just like, damn. Like this, if we could do something like this, this would be fucking amazing.
Yeah. I just realized I said Georgia instead of Tbilisi, and he asked me what city.
I'm like, that's okay, whatever, it's all good.
That's fine.
I know that's sick. That's the beauty of Europe too. There's just so much going on that you never know what the hell you're going to run into. Right? You could end up on a madness one night and just stumble across something.
Yeah, and honestly, we got super lucky with finding that, and it was definitely like a highlight of that trip,
because it was really hard to find stuff happening in Naples, and oddly enough, it was hard to kind of find stuff that was going later, right? If things were ending like pretty early, around like 2 a.m, maybe. Yeah. But they had this like crazy thing on like, what is this? Just like every weekend, Friday, Saturday.
I think it was once a month.
People just roam the streets, and it's just like there's like ants like everywhere, and they're like out till like 5 a.m. just drinking in the courtyards of the neighborhoods. Like it's just like a huge street party, and it's like a tradition of theirs, which is really, really cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe need to go to Naples now and see if I can find some.
Oh, dude, it's a crazy cool city.
Dig up some hash.
Yeah, there's lots of hash everywhere.
Lots of hash.
Priorities. Okay, and the last, I guess the second last question I wanted to ask you was, if you could share the booth with any artist, which artist would it be? You've got a lot of choices here.
It can't just be one, man. Like this.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, give me three. Yeah. Give me three then.
Give you three each, or three together.
Whichever. If you have three each, we'll take three each. If you want to go three together, we can do that.
I would say Theo Parrish, and I would say Theo Parrish, Lauren Hampson, and Alexander for me.
Okay. I'm going to say Mr. Scruff for one of them. I'm going to say oh man, this is so much harder than I thought. I'm gonna say Moody Man for a second one because
That's a good
Moody Man is phenomenal.
hero.
He is, yeah, he's a hero. He's Ledge. Let me think. Who else? Who else?
Can I add one more? I need to add one more. The late Andrew Weatherall, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
Andrew, that will be
For sure.
phenomenal.
That's just also.
Yeah, and who was I gonna say? Honestly, Kama from Rush Hour. I really like the energy and the style that she brings, and even Masalo as well. Although like they do have a lot of sets together. Even their stuff like when they're playing by themselves is like super good. Yeah. Also yeah, that's the thing. We could just
yeah,
rattle off like 1,000
on and
names.
on, for sure.
Yeah, I think you found your song though. You want to tell them your song?
Oh yeah, it was New Day by 2 Rounds.
Round two.
Round two. Round two.
There,
New
yeah.
Day. Yeah, there you go. That one.
Perfect. And the last question I wanted to ask you is, if you had any advice for your younger selves, what would it be? When you first started out DJing, what advice would you give yourselves?
Don't do crack.
Don't do crack. Never do crack.
Nice.
Sound. Or do crack. That's
do crack. Yeah. I don't
3-day
know.
parties.
Huh. That's a really good question. I feel like there was a bit of naivety to both of us in the very beginning. You know, we were kind of like a little bit shy in a lot of respects, and we didn't, I don't know, I don't think that we had enough kind of like self-belief that I think we've kind of managed to cultivate by like doing all these things, which frankly, again, these are all things that you don't know that you can do until you eventually do them and you're like, wow, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would be definitely something I would tell myself. What would you tell your younger self?
I think seriously, yeah, I would, say don't get discouraged if you have like nothing to show for your efforts.
Yeah,
that's
kind of definitely a big one.
Because that definitely happened a lot to us. When we I think there was a period in time where I was just like, what am I doing? Like why I have, I'm approaching my like 30s right now, and I don't really have anything like concrete to show for everything that I've done, or all the effort that I've put into DJing, and then shortly after that, things just took off, and it was weird how that happened. So yeah, I would definitely just tell myself, to keep on going and not get discouraged.
Yeah, and definitely there's no substitute for work. Legitimately, there's absolutely nothing that you can substitute for that. Practice as much as you can, dig as much as you can,
and always do what you're doing for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure you're doing it with a smile, because it's
don't try and be a DJ because you're looking for status. Don't try and be a DJ because you're trying to be famous. Be a DJ because the music, you wanna,
because you get free drinks.
Because you get holy shit.
No, I'm kidding.
Do it for free drinks, yeah.
Don't do it for free drinks.
And comps to really shitty parties. Do it for that. But no, seriously.
But no, definitely for the love, for the enjoyment,
and do it because you wanna spread the gospel, like I said earlier. Do it because you're trying to show people what this culture is about, and to help it grow and become, a force.
Well, that's some great advice, and I mean, you guys are a testament to that. You guys embody everything that electronic music's about. These are fun. You don't take yourselves too seriously, and you really love the craft. So, I mean, I appreciate you taking the time out your busy schedule to sit down and speak to me, and
absolutely. Thank you for having us, of course. Sorry I had to duck out to Wee for a quick moment there.
Oh no, that's fine. It's a pleasure to have you on here, and I really appreciate you making the time for me. And I'm sure when the time comes, I'll come out to Toronto, and we'll party together, and hopefully we'll get you out in Regina here if you do ever make that trip cross country. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you. He's a fantastic guys, and yeah, hopefully soon everything will open up and we'll be able to make these things happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully
sure,
that's gonna be sooner rather than later, and we have a chance to meet face to face and hang out, drink a few Peronis. I don't know, whatever the move seems to be, right?
Hey,
Go,
I'll drink
go,
it is going.
Go shop for some sneakers.
Shop for some sneakers. You know, drink some Peronis on a patio.
Hey, now you're talking my language. I'm up for
There
it.
you go.
It is going.
Buy some hash from a strange guy under a bridge.
Yes, absolutely. You can do that as well.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, guys. These are absolute
no
legends, and hopefully Arsenal look a little bit better next season, eh?
Oh, look, man. Let me just tell you, Arteta. He came out and he's like, "My team's gonna bang in the next couple of weeks." You know, so I mean, we'll see what happens, but I'm confident.
I have faith in him. He's a good Rangers man, Arteta. He used to play for us, so I have a little bit of faith.
That's hilarious. I totally forgot about that. But yeah,
Was that before Everton?
Yeah. Staying blue all the way, man. Holy
Wow.
shit. But yeah, he's got some big plans. I think he's gonna look to poach Odson Edouard from Celtic. I don't know if you know, you probably know about him.
That's okay. He's weakening your rivals, man.
Yeah,
That's nothing wrong with that. It's good news for you.
I think Arsenal's gonna come out. I mean, I thought that was gonna happen this year. So
that's the next program. It's the football punditry. This is still the music interview, Alex.
Okay, that's right.
We can do football punditry anytime.
Absolutely.
Turn the camera off. Stop recording. But yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for having us again.
Yeah, dude,
appreciate it. Honestly, super refreshing and like very, very happy with what you're trying to do out there. Honestly, wish you the best of luck.
Yes.
Happy to be a part of it. Hope you enjoyed the mix. Hopefully the listeners enjoyed the mix. And we enjoyed making it.
It was great. Yeah, honestly,
great.
it's a good mix of some like, you know, melodic stuff. Yeah, it's very moody. It's moody, you know.
It's moody house music. Yeah,
it'll definitely get people, you know, looking to explore, perhaps.
Definitely. I mean, it showcases exactly how creative you are and how everything doesn't need to be off the top 100 on Beatport. And it's phenomenal. So I'm sure there will be a lot of people heading your way to check out what you guys are doing in the future. And I know you're going to crush it. So just remember me when you start.
Hopefully. We definitely will. Just anyone who's listening, please SoundCloud, Instagram, and OnlyFans. Definitely OnlyFans.
Yeah.
And make sure you check them out on
lots of pantless pictures.
Send all of the tokens or flowers or whatever.
We only accept Bitcoin. Bitcoin for sex. But yeah. Again, man, any way we can help you out in the future as well, don't hesitate to reach out. We're here.
Yeah, and make your way over here, man. Well, we've clearly already got plans, you know.
Definitely. Well, I'm just gonna sign off here and
sounds good.
Get everything closed up. Thank you for joining me again. It was brilliant, man. I think that's going to be a banger for sure.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. Righty. Well, I'm just going to boost here. I'm going to finish up doing this. I hope you have a good night. Thank you to everyone for tuning in to this week's podcast where we were joined by Immigrant Muscle. If you haven't already, check those guys out on Instagram and on SoundCloud. We also have the mix featuring Immigrant Muscle that was posted on Friday, so go and give that a listen. And if you missed last week's, make sure to go back and have a listen to the one that we done with Nathan Zan, along with the podcast that was put out last Sunday. A big shout out to the guys over at Pale Studio for providing me with the sit clothes that I've been wearing in the last 2 episodes. If you are interested in purchasing any of their stuff, make sure to check those guys out on Instagram and online at palestudios.ca. Also, to keep up to date with everything that we've got going on here at Wavelength Radio and with the A Little House in the Prairies podcast, make sure to follow us on Instagram at wavelength.radio and to follow us on SoundCloud and YouTube.
If you just want to subscribe and hit that like button, that would be brilliant. I appreciate all the support everyone showed me so far, and hopefully it just keeps going from here. So thank you to everyone, and God bless.